Let me ask you something real quick. You've been running for a while now. You've put in the miles, you've done the long runs, maybe you've even been consistent for months. But your 10K time, it's basically the same as it was 6 months ago. Maybe a little better, maybe exactly the same. And deep down, you already know why, you just haven't wanted to say it out loud yet. That's what we're doing today, saying it out loud. If you've been hanging around this channel for the last few episodes, you already know we don't do the fluffy stuff here. We talked about recovery habits that actually matter. We broke down aerobic base training and why most runners skip the most important part. And now we're taking all of that and pointing it at one specific goal. Dropping your 1OK time. For real this time, not someday. Starting today. If you're new here, drop a comment below. Tell me where you are right now. What's your current 1OK time, and where do you want to get? I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that now. Because what's coming in the next few episodes is going to make everything click. In a way, most runners never figure out. Alright, let's get into it. Here's the uncomfortable truth about 1OK improvement that nobody wants to say to your face. Most runners who are stuck aren't stuck because they're not working hard enough. They're stuck because they're doing the same thing over and over and calling it training. You go out, you run your usual route, at your usual pace, for your usual distance. Maybe you push a little harder on a good day. Maybe you back off when you're tired. But the fundamental stimulus, it never changes. Your body figured out that workout a long time ago. It adapted. And now it's just maintaining. That's the trap. And it's invisible because running still feels like running. You're still sweating. You're still putting in time. You come home tired. It feels productive. But productive feeling and actually improving are two very different things. Be honest with yourself. Think about the last 4 weeks of your running. How many of those runs were at a pace that genuinely challenged you? Not just slightly uncomfortable, actually hard. I mean the kind of hard where your legs are asking questions your lungs can't answer. For most recreational runners, that number is close to 0. And that's exactly why the 10K time won't move. Now here's what nobody really tells you. Your 1OK time is determined by 2 things working together: your aerobic engine and your ability to sustain a pace above your comfort zone. If you've been doing only easy miles, you've been building half the machine. That aerobic base we talked about last time, essential. But it is not enough on its own. At some point you have to teach your body what fast feels like. And you have to do it in a structured, repeatable way. Not just by sprinting to the next mailbox when you feel like it. The first thing you need to fix is what I call the middle of nowhere pace problem. Most runners spend almost all of their time running at a pace that's not quite easy enough to be a real recovery run, and not quite hard enough to actually build speed. It's the pace where you feel like you're working, but your body is barely adapting. It's cardio purgatory. You're in it right now, aren't you? Stop, get out. The fix is actually simple, but it requires you to be more intentional than you've probably been. Some of your runs need to be genuinely easy, slower than feels right, comfortable enough to hold a full conversation. And some of your runs need to be hard. Not sprint until you vomit hard, structured hard, controlled hard. The kind of hard you can repeat next week and the week after. Now tell me something. Have you ever actually timed yourself over a 1 kilometer segment? Just 1 kilometer, at the pace you want to be running your 1OK. Most people haven't, because they don't want to see the number. That number is your friend. That number tells you the truth. Let's talk about the excuses, because I know exactly what's going through your head right now. I don't have time for structured workouts. Okay, a focused 35-minute run with real effort. Built-in does more for your 1OK time than an easy hour. The time argument doesn't hold up. You have the time. You're choosing comfort over discomfort, which is a completely human thing to do. But let's at least be honest about it. I'll get injured if I push harder. This one has a tiny grain of truth buried in a mountain of avoidance. Yes, ramping up too fast is a real injury risk. No, that doesn't mean you should never increase intensity. It means you increase it intelligently. One harder session per week. That's it. You're not training for the Olympics. You're trying to shave a few minutes off a 10K. The injury risk of one weekly tempo run is not the monster you're making it in your head. I'm not a fast runner, that's just my body type. Ridiculous. I say that with full respect. Your genetic ceiling might be different from someone else's, fine, but you are nowhere near your ceiling. Nobody who is running easy miles 3 times a week and calling it a training plan is anywhere near their ceiling. That excuse is just a story you're telling yourself so you don't have to do the uncomfortable work. And here's the one I love most. I'm just doing this for fun, not to compete. Great. Running for fun is a completely valid reason to run. But you're watching a video called How to Lower Your 1OK Time. You have a goal. Owning a goal doesn't make running less fun. It gives it a direction. Stop hiding behind the casual runner identity when you clearly want something more. It's okay to want it, just own it. Alright, here's the actual solution. And I'm going to make it as simple as possible because the problem is never the information, it's the doing. 1 run per week needs to be a tempo run. Warm up for about 10 minutes easy, then run at a pace that feels comfortably hard for 20 to 25 minutes, then cool down. Comfortably hard means you can say a few words, but not hold a real conversation. If you can chat, go faster. If you can't say anything at all, back off slightly. That's it. That's the intensity. 1 run a week. Do this consistently for 6 weeks, and come back and tell me your 1OK time hasn't improved. The second piece is this. On your easy days, actually go easy. I mean it. If your tempo pace is, say, around 5:30 per kilometer, your easy runs should be closer to 6:30 or even 7 minutes per kilometer. That feels embarrassingly slow. Good, that's the point. You're recovering and building your aerobic base, not impressing strangers on Strava. Let the ego go. The slowness on easy days is what makes the hard days possible. Third thing, and this is the one most runners completely ignore. You need to know your current 1OK pace, and you need to have a target pace, not a vague, I want to run faster. Target. An actual number. If you're currently running 10,000 in 60 minutes, you're averaging 6 minutes per kilometer. Maybe your goal is 55 minutes, which is 5:30 per kilometer. Those 20 seconds per kilometer difference. That's your job. Everything you do in training exists to close that gap. Without the number, you're just guessing. Now here's what I want you to understand about where you are right now in this series. A few episodes ago you probably couldn't tell me the difference between aerobic base work and junk miles. Now you understand why the easy days matter. You understand how recovery affects your performance. You're not the same runner you were when you started watching this. That's real. That's you actually evolving. And the people who follow through on this stuff, the ones who take one concept at a time and actually apply it, those are the runners who show up at a race a year from now, genuinely shocked by what they're capable of. But here's the thing. Everything I just told you, the tempo runs, the easy days, the target pace, all of it has one critical variable underneath it that most runners don't fully understand. And that variable is what determines whether you're doing the right kind of hard work or just wearing yourself out for nothing. That variable is the structure of your hard sessions themselves. Because there are 2 fundamentally different approaches to running fast in training, and they produce very different results. One of them is probably better for you right now than the other, and most runners are doing the wrong one. We're breaking that down in the next episode. Interval training versus continuous tempo running. Which one actually builds speed? Which one is right for where you are in your running right now? The answer might surprise you. If you've been making the decisions I talked about today without fully understanding which type of hard session to use, you might be leaving a lot of improvement on the table. That's not a small detail. That's the entire game. So subscribe if you haven't already. Because that video is coming and you genuinely don't want to piece this together without it. And right now, in the comments, tell me your current 1OK time and your goal. Put the number out there. That first step of owning the goal is more important than you think. Go run.